One of the world's most popular dive destinations is Key Largo, Florida. Key Largo is the largest of a series of islands which start at the southeast tip of Florida and arc to the south and west. About 15% of the islands are connected by U.S. Route 1, also known as the Overseas Highway. Key Largo, although not the first key in the series, is the first key accessible using the Overseas Highway. The Overseas Highway is a series of bridges and roads which started out as a railroad line. In 1935, the railroad was destroyed by a hurricane, and US 1 was built in its place. Another act of destruction came during the 1950s. The Key Largo marine life was plundered for its commercial value. Several people began to recognize the need for preservation of the underwater natural resources. One of the key people involved was editor of the Miami Herald, John Pennekamp. By the early 60s, the United States' first underwater park was established, the John Pennekamp Coral Reef State Park. In 1975, the Key Largo National Marine Sanctuary was established, extending the protected boundaries. Today, almost the entire area surrounding the Florida Keys is protected as the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary. Key Largo is a tropical paradise easily accessible by car or even airplane. Boasting water temperatures from 80 to 85 in the summer and from the low 70s to 80s in the winter, this dive destination is a premier spot, and it's right here in the U.S., so you won't need a passport, there's no exchange rate, electrical converters are unnecessary, English is the language, and did I mention that the water is warm? Much of the aquatic realm can be seen in 30 feet or less of clear, warm water. Some of the more popular Key Largo dive spots are the Elbow, Key Largo Dry Rocks, the wreck of the Benwood, French Reef, and Molasses Reef. Popular dive spots accessible from Key Largo but lying outside the Key Largo National Marine Sanctuary are the wrecks of the Duane and the Bibb. These two Coast Guard sister ships were intentionally sunk in 1987 to become artificial reefs. You can appreciate the size of these ships by viewing their sister ship, the Taney, which is on permanent display in Baltimore Harbor located in Maryland. Each is 327 feet long and lie in over 100 feet of water. These Key Largo dives are considered advanced not only due to the depths but also because of stronger currents in the area. But what sorts of sights can be seen in 30 feet or less of beautiful, warm Caribbean water? Let's take a look. Just beneath the water's surface is where you'll find the reef. Mostly composed of the skeletons of billions of small marine animals known as coral, the reef is made of limestone, or calcium carbonate. The Key Largo finger-like reef formations yield a variety of geological structures. One minute, you find yourself swimming through a coral canyon, and the next, you're swimming along coral mountain ridges. No matter where you swim along the reef, there are colorful rock-like formations and delicate growths that look like plants. However, the formations and growths are most likely delicate colonies of small living animals. The living colonies are coral polyps housed within their own calcium carbonate secretions. Soft corals are supported by calcium-containing spicules, which provide the colony with a more flexible support. The coral reef in the Key Largo National Marine Sanctuary is part of a larger fringing reef, which is the only living coral reef in the continental United States. If Key Largo has an abundance of any type of coral, it has to be sea fans. Sea fans are graceful corals. Fans gently bend back and forth as the sea surges. They look like large feather fans being lifted up and down to stir the air. Sea fans are Gorgonian-type corals and derive their purple coloration from the pigmentation contained in their supporting spicules. Fans have several main branches which are connected by smaller branching networks of spicules and polyps. The fine structure of the fan is airy and porous. Many coral structures, on closer examination, have a definite texture that is unique to each type. This sea whip, for instance, looks very much like a weeping willow tree from afar, but up close we can see that each spaghetti-like appendage is covered with small feathery structures. The large round colonies, known as brain corals, have so been named due to their textured surface. It resembles the ridges and valleys of the human brain. Many reef-building corals derive their brownish to yellowish coloration from algae known as zooanthellae. Although the coral is a living animal, consuming other smaller animals for its nutrition, it depends on the algae to provide for certain needs. The algae supplies the coral with oxygen and carbon. The coral in return provides the algae with nitrogen and phosphorus. The algae produces its own food by photosynthesis. Therefore, coral reefs are typically found in shallow water, where the algae can make use of the sunlight. Diving the coral reef should be a slow, relaxing experience. So take time to appreciate the microstructure of the coral. You might also take time to look at the variety of sponges, which are some of the simplest multicelled animals. Coral structures also provide shelter for many smaller fish. One such fish is the tiny tobacco fish. This little guy appears to be defending his territory, maintaining a watchful eye over his coral castle. The tobacco fish, a member of the sea bass family, is typically 3 to 4 inches long. This particular member has orange-colored sides and dorsal markings that alternate black and white. In order to spot this fish, you'll have to go slow and look closely. It's hard to believe, but the tobacco fish is in the same family as the Nassau grouper, which can reach 4 feet in length. Groupers are hermaphroditic. Some change from female to male as they mature, and some change from male to female. The black grouper can take on a variety of colorations, but tends to have rectangular blotches on its body, and the ends of the dorsal, caudal, and anal fins are typically marked by thick black lines. The tiger grouper is similar to the black in size and shape, but has diagonal tiger-like stripes marking its body, as can be seen on this distant example. This tiger grouper has introduced us to another family of fish, the parrotfish. This is a fully matured or terminal phase blue parrotfish, as indicated by the squared protruding head and deep blue coloration. Parrotfish can go through several color phases as they mature, but all terminal phase parrotfish are males. In some cases, they may start out as females and change sexes when fully matured. Parrotfish are herbivores and graze across the coral reef in search of algae. This immature or intermediate phase blue parrotfish is grazing with a terminal phase princess parrotfish, as indicated by its brilliant color pattern. One example of the dramatic maturing color change can be seen in the queen parrotfish. While the initial phase is a dull black and white, the terminal phase is a brilliant blue-green with distinct markings about the mouth. In many cases, the terminal phase also has a more elaborate and flowing tail, as does this queen. Another example of a dramatic color change is the stoplight parrotfish. The juvenile and initial phases have red bellies and large brownish to bluish and white scales covering the rest of the body, making a relatively dull-looking fish. Conversely, the terminal phase male is a magnificent blend of pastels, with a yellow and orange area at the base of the tail, and an identifying yellow spot above the pectoral fins. Parrotfish bite off bits of coral while eating algae. They grind up the bits of limestone into small fragments of sand. In fact, parrotfish are one of the principal producers of sand in warm waters. These are terminal phase rainbow parrotfish. The rainbow parrotfish has a distinct orangish colored head and a bright green body. The terminal phase, like those of other species, develops the squared head and a large flowing tail. The rainbow parrotfish is one of the largest of the parrotfishes and may reach lengths of 4 feet. One noticeable characteristic of the parrotfish is its means of locomotion. Parrotfish tend to use their pectoral fins to move about the reef. Other fish propel themselves with the use of their tail. The pectoral fin means of locomotion may not catch your attention at first, but if you happen to be aware of it, you will notice this peculiarity. This red band parrotfish gives us an excellent example of the use of pectoral fins. Parrotfish are abundant on the reef, and there are a wide variety of species. Species tend to be difficult to identify, especially in the juvenile or initial phases. The use of identification books or cards can make your visit to the Key Largo National Marine Sanctuary a more enjoyable adventure. One of the most popular dives in this area, and probably one of the most recognizable, is the Christ of the Abyss statue. The 9-foot bronze statue of Christ looks to the surface as if beckoning divers and snorkelers alike to come visit the underwater world. The statue is a trademark of Florida Keys diving and is a must-see on any diver's list. All park areas are no-touch zones, but be especially careful around the statue since it is covered with stinging fire coral. One predatory fish that seems to instill fear into most people is the barracuda. These are large-toothed, sleek, silvery fish, typically 2 to 3 feet in length. Occasionally, a large barracuda may swim swiftly past or come close to satisfy its curiosity. If you look closely beneath some dive boats, you may even spot a shadow of a fish that is about 6 feet long. This large barracuda has been aptly nicknamed Curious George by some of the local dive operators. Although barracuda don't attack people out of the blue, as with most other wild animals, they don't like to be poked, prodded, or accosted. The fearsome mouth opening is simply a way for this fish to move water over its gills. The most graceful fish on the reef is the angelfish. Like this gray angelfish, their bodies are large flat oval discs with flowing dorsal and anal fins. An angelfish that looks similar to the gray is the French angelfish. It differs from the gray in coloration, typically a darker black with yellow accents around the scales. The French angelfish is also a little shy, so you may have trouble approaching it closely. A much smaller angelfish is known as the rock beauty. The rock beauty's body is somewhat more elongated, and it has a brightly colored yellow head and tail, contrasting a deep black body. Another elongated style, usually larger than the rock beauty, is the blue angelfish. A beautiful blend of pastel blue and yellow, the blue angelfish looks very much like the queen angelfish. However, the queen angelfish is much more brilliantly colored and has a distinguishing spot in the center of its head. A seasonal but interesting dive spot in the Key Largo National Marine Sanctuary is known as the Minnow Caves. The Minnow Caves are an exhilarating place to visit. Vast numbers of various species of small schooling fish live in the hollows of the reef. Swirling winds of minnows will part to allow a diver to enter the caves, and then quickly regroup to engulf the diver. Inside the caves, patterns of movement are occasionally interrupted by larger fish looking for an easy meal. These jacks slowly cruise as they dine. Consult your dive operator to determine if the minnow caves are populated, and if so, this is a breathtaking area to visit. A more appropriate term for the minnow caves is swim-through, not really cave. Swim-throughs can be easily navigated, but caves require special training. Don't be afraid to swim through the minnow caves, but be aware of where the entrance and exit lie. And be careful not to scrape the coral, because both you and the coral will suffer. From a distance, you might easily mistake these white and yellow fish for yellowtail snapper, but these are yellow goatfish. They have a flattened underside with a rounded head. They have barbels on the chin for locating food on the bottom. Goatfish tend to feed alone, but are often found schooling when not feeding. This is a yellowtail snapper. Although the coloration is similar to the yellow goatfish, the body style is more streamlined and the tail is larger and lunate, or crescent shaped. This makes the yellowtail a faster swimmer. Yellowtails can also have spots and are very common on the reef. The gray or mangrove snapper is also abundant. Another snapper, known as the schoolmaster, can usually be seen in groups under ledges or large overhangs. You may see these fish occasionally opening their mouths. There is also the mutton snapper with its distinguishing spot. The similar-looking dog snapper is difficult to approach and has dog-like or canine teeth in the front of its mouth. The wreck of the Benwood is an excellent dive spot. The bow of the ship is the highest and most recognizable structure. There is an abundance of fish life, but other than the wreck, there is little coral structure in the area. The Benwood was fired upon by a German U-boat during World War II. Since the water is shallow, the wreck became a navigational hazard and was dynamited. The area is now a protected sanctuary for marine life, and mooring buoys are provided, as they are in the rest of the Key Largo National Marine Sanctuary, so that boats will not destroy delicate marine corals by dropping anchor. Taking artifacts from within the sanctuary is not allowed, but that is not a problem around the Benwood, since most of what is left are ribs and deck sheets. The saying in Key Largo is, "Take all the pictures you want, but leave everything else." The Sergeant Major is one of the easiest damselfish to observe. They are very approachable. Sergeant Majors have black sergeant-like stripes covering their bodies. They usually have a yellowish coloration, but when a male is guarding eggs, his color turns dark blue, almost obscuring the stripes in some cases. Another damselfish is the bicolor damselfish, which is simply black and white. As you can see, damselfish are very feisty and chase much larger fish away from their territory. There are many types of damselfish, but a few others you might encounter are the three-spot damselfish, the blue chromis, and the cocoa damselfish, which is difficult to distinguish from the Beau Gregory damselfish. Snook are large fish found in shallow waters. Although not brilliantly colored marine fish, they are magnificent to observe. These fish can reach 4.5 feet in length. The family of fish called grunts make a grunting sound by rubbing their teeth together. The yellow fish with this four-eyed butterfly fish is a French grunt and is easily confused with the blue striped grunt. Grunts are difficult to distinguish one from the other, especially as juveniles. The porkfish is a family member which is easily distinguished from all others. Young porkfish may act as cleaners for other species, picking parasites from their bodies. There are many varieties of wrasses which are very colorful. Wrasses are generally small and are closely related to parrotfish. The tiny yellow fish chasing the larger barjacks are blue head wrasses. Only the terminal phase male of the species actually has a blue-colored head. Like parrotfish, terminal phase male wrasses are the most colorful of the species, and like porkfish, the bluehead wrasse serves as a cleaning fish. The purple-colored Creole wrasse can be seen swimming in graceful rhythmic dances about the reef, but only during the day. Like many other wrasses, at night they bury themselves in the sand or hide in tight crevices. If you look carefully in tight crevices during the day, you're likely to spot spiny lobster. The spiny lobster does not have large claws like the more familiar northern lobster, but it has large antennae. The spiny lobster is often spotted by looking for its large antennae, which will protrude from its hiding place. Now let's look at some of the more unusually shaped fish on the reef, and then give the Key Largo National Marine Sanctuary one last look before departing. For now, we must say goodbye, but we hope you enjoyed this look around the Key Largo National Marine Sanctuary.